Hi, welcome to the video podcast of Product Manager Thought Collectives. Today, our guest is a longtime friend of mine, Parul, who currently is a Senior Director of Product Management at Indeed. I have known Parul since 2018, 2019, before I started at PayPal, because at that time I went to a workshop about product management and Parul was a speaker. And then half a year later, I joined PayPal, and then Parul was on my neighbor team. And then she's always been a role model of mine. She is funny. She is kind. She's also really loving to share a lot of knowledge she has. So I'm really grateful for you to be here. Welcome, Parul.
Oh, thank you, Yang. Thank you for the nice intro. And actually, the way I remember it, I interviewed you for the role at PayPal, and we found out we used to work at the same consulting company, the only other person I have met who used to work for the same company. And
Yes.
then you showed up at my talk at Product Tank SF. And even then, I remembered like I just being so impressed by your follow through and just just single mindedness. And like I always admire that about you. Like you have something in mind and you really go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So the first question is, how would you introduce yourself? So we know you're a senior director of product. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Yeah, so I am a senior director of product for billing, payments, and HR platforms at Indeed. And this is really the first time that I have owned a product with internal customers. Like customers are within the company. So for HR platform, the employees are the customer. Our HR team is the customer. So it's been an interesting experience, right? I have always had like external customer facing products, but how to get things done for your internal customers because their expectations are different.
Mhm.
um, Obviously the company is willing to prioritize and invest more in the customer experience than internal experience. So how do you navigate that? It has been an interesting learning. Before that I was at PayPal for many years, and that's where Yi Yang and I hung out quite a bit. And then before that I was at consulting. I also like to mention that I am a mom of a 2-year old, and that has been just an amazing journey. Like I was somebody who decided to have kids late, and had I known how fun and fulfilling it is, I would have done it earlier for sure. uh, and I used to host a podcast called Unseen Battles with the Parul Goyal, the goal of the podcast was to showcase stories of challenges and failure, because I have felt very alone when I have failed or when things are not working, and I don't really want others to feel that way. So I want to just make failure very mainstream and very
Mhm.
acceptable. Oh yeah, that did not work out, and that's okay. And I am looking to start another podcast. So I would love to at some point, yeah, and connect with you and get some
Yes.
ideas. But
Yes,
that's a very long
absolutely.
introduction of who I am outside of
Yeah,
the
I
senior
love that.
product.
Absolutely. I love that. And then we were both Toastmasters.
We
I
were
don't know
both
long.
Toastmasters.
Yeah,
That's
we were
true.
both. I don't have time for that right now, but it was a
Yeah,
good time. I think
yeah,
PayPal run one of the best clubs that
yeah.
I've been to.
And it was so easy, right? You just jump in
Lunchtime,
and
just
leave. Yeah,
go. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So you kind of touched upon a little bit earlier that we did both start in consulting. So we actually have a little bit similar path. So can you deep dive into your journey into product management? How did you transition from consulting to being, officially a PM?
Yeah. Um, some of it was just being in the right place at the right time, and some of it was just my previous work experience. So in consulting, I was a business analyst, focused on the e-commerce space. And the product management skill that I really learned from this was working with the UX team, working with the engineering team. Like, okay, what does engineers need to build something, right?
Mhm.
So I got really good at that. The part, to be honest, looking back, I did not get as a consultant or a BA, was
Mm.
looking at the bigger picture and kind of driving the conversation. And
Mm.
I was also early career, right? So as a BA,
Yeah.
my role was very focused. Um, but then a friend of mine referred me. Oh, that's one more thing. For some reason, the career
Mm.
path from BA was
Yeah.
that to project and program management. So when
Okay.
I was in consulting, that was the path to growth. Oh, you're a BA,
Yeah.
now you become a project manager, which now sounds so weird because they're completely two different things.
Right.
But I made the transition. I was like, I'm going to grow in my career. I'm going to become a project manager. And so I became from a BA to project manager to program manager. And then
Mm.
I interviewed with PayPal for a project management role. Uh,
Oh, okay.
but a lot of my experience had been as a BA. So a lot of the, in the behavioral interviews, the stories I shared was the work that I had done as a BA.
Mm.
And I remember the thing at that time, the director of product was like, "Oh, we have this other product role open that I think you will be a good fit for." And then she mid interview she changed the role that I was interviewing for,
Nice.
and that's how I ended up in a product role.
That's
Uh,
awesome. I
yeah,
think I think either I forgot about it, but where I didn't know about this before that you were on the track for being like a
yeah,
project slash program manager,
yeah,
and then realized, oh, your background matches better with product, and then
yeah.
that's how you got into product. Nice.
And I am so glad I did because um, I think now I am old enough to admit that I am a much better product manager than I would have been a program manager.
Mm.
Program manager, which is kind of like it's a very different and like it has challenging skill set, like having teams make commitment, having them follow commitment. I don't think I would have been going broad rather than deep.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
definitely feel like I ended up in the right spot.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel the same way.
Yeah,
So talking about these like core skills, so you have been working at a lot of different e-commerce or marketplace companies like Indeed and PayPal. And what would you consider as like the core domain skills for
mm,
e-commerce or payments PM or like billing PM? The reason I'm asking is I think for the PM series, I want to interview PM leaders in different domains, right? There are
yeah,
people who work in creator economy. There are people who are working in fintech, e-commerce, marketplace. There are also like cloud PM or AI ML PM. I think, there are people who are generalists, right? But
yeah,
then there are also people who specialize in certain domains.
yeah.
So I'm curious, what kind of skill do you consider are essential or the core skills for marketplace and payments PMs?
Yeah, so for let me you asked about billing PM. Let me talk about that a little bit because of all the roles that I have done, like being a payments PM and then a marketplace PM, billing PM probably in my experience is probably the most specialized,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because even when I joined Indeed and I was leading the billing platform, I did not have billing experience, and I just thought, oh yeah, you invoice the client, right? That's the billing part of it. But there is this you just see the tip of the iceberg. There's this entire thing under the surface of then how do you the accounting piece of it, how do you
Mm,
then recognize revenue, how do you report revenue.
yeah,
So accounting, like just an understanding of basics of accounting is super important if you're going to be a billing PM, right? Billing is also a very like invoicing is very regulated, right? Your bill
yeah.
has to be clear, like the currency related, language related. There are a lot of regulations, right? So billing is if you are going to become a billing PM or if you want to excel in that area, so really getting to know that domain
Mm,
and the more specialized part of your stakeholder group, like accounting, maybe FP&A. What are their goals? I think that's going to be super important. It's a learnable skill, definitely learnable skill, but not something you will just. I think this a more focused effort will be fruitful rather than, oh, I'll just do the job and learn. I think it takes more than that
mm,
for billing. For payments PM, I think just core of how payments work,
mm.
the industry trends in payments. Payments is one of those areas which is changing so quickly, right? I think that's like just curiosity and interest in payments because some of it is very exciting, but as you know, being a part of core payments team, some of it is the in the relationship with banks and processors, etc. Right? All of that is kind of dry, but
Yeah.
you kind of need to know that foundation so that you can make better decisions. But industry trends is going to be super important. Who are the key players? What do they bring to the table? What differentiates RDN versus Tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that's going to be super important. Also, B2B versus B2C payments are going to
Mm,
be different. Online versus offline payments, right? I think those are the kind of things that you might want to look into a little bit. And then marketplace PM probably is my favorite. I think of all the roles that I have done, I think that probably is my favorite. Um, Again, a lot of curiosity about the market, the just the industry trends, common knowledge of the software, the different content management systems, right? So,
Mhm.
GoDaddy versus WooCommerce versus Shopify, where is the industry heading? How does AI impact them? And a lot of this, I feel like, unlike the billing platform, the accounting piece is learnable, like just from like following influencers, just reading a few articles every day for a few minutes. I think it's easy to learn that part of it. But
Yeah,
there's
definitely. Yeah.
some core skills that you need to learn, but and a lot of it is just following the industry to see where it's going.
Yeah, definitely. I love that kind of the notion of you have to keep up with the industry, right?
Yeah,
There's new regulations.
yeah,
There's like monopoly, situations, or when you as like a payments leader, sometimes you do the RFP process within the company. That will require some domain
yeah.
knowledge as well,
That's
right? So that I think,
absolutely.
yeah, that's like years of knowledge accumulated that will help
Yeah.
you to go a long way as well. Yeah.
I know your question was specific to domain knowledge, but there's one thing I want to share about the soft skills part of it,
Hmm.
right? Now that I have been doing this close to 20 years, I feel like the PMs that I have worked with and the PMs that have been on my team, I think the number one indicator of success for me, it has been your ability to get stuff done, irrespective of, oh, that's not my in my area, or that another PM owns it. If it impacts your product, you find a way to get it done. So if there are any aspiring PMs, I think that's one thing. If you really need to have that drive to kind of influence people, get an answer, get a commitment, really have that mindset that this is mine to drive, even though I am not the direct PM.
Yeah.
I feel like that by far has been the indicator of success that I've seen.
Yeah. I really agree with that. I think having the ability to influence others,
Yeah,
whether it's in your team or outside of your team, and then get the points across, get things done, get
yeah,
that OKR or get whatever goal you have to reach for the team. I think that helps you build trust and then
yeah,
also set up your credibility as a PM, like
yeah, yeah,
for long term success.
yeah.
Definitely. The next question, kind of related to this, is that as a PM, every day is changing, right? There's more information in the AI world or new technology, new competitors coming up. What are some latest trends or books or articles that recently you find interesting? Or it could be tools, anything that related to PM that, you feel like, oh,
Oh, related to PMs.
or it could be on a broader sense as well. Like,
Friends.
there's a tool or there's a trend that you notice people being doing, and then you started to adopt to it. Or there's a book you find that's very fascinating.
So I I have not tried the chat PRD tool, although I have read mixed reviews about it. I do use just Chat GPT a lot for my
Mm,
job.
mm, yeah,
Just, I mean, honestly, for just saving time, like for creating, just saving time by just having Chat GPT come up with the headline for a slide or come up with bullets
yeah,
for a deck,
hmm,
or how to approach certain conversations. So for me, I know that probably is a very, very cliched answer at this point, but for me, Chat GPT has been
GPT, yeah,
a
yeah,
changer. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, the It's not related to product manager's role, but another AI tool that I'm trying to use right now. I think it's called Home Design AI. Actually, Shubha is the one who introduced it to me,
Oh,
and
okay, cool
I'm in
design.
the process of like trying to build a breakfast nook at my place. So I think that has been, it's just very interesting to see the kind of things it can do. So I would highly recommend checking that out. The framework that I use, honestly, which has been really helpful for me, is the jobs to be done framework. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. The jobs to be done. I think my first PM job, we had a workshop like, hey, what is jobs to be done? You have
Yeah.
different like personas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that has been, I know it's nothing, it's not novel, it's not groundbreaking, but what I find, the value that I find in it is, if you have customers or stakeholders who kind of want to talk to you about solutions, using jobs to be done framework
Hmm.
kind of helps transition that conversation to, okay, what is it that you're trying to do, like what's
Mm,
getting in your way, right? Which as a product manager is it's kind of hard to do, right? Like you don't know,
yeah.
you can't tell people, don't give me a solution, tell me what your problem is.
Right.
So I have
Right.
found jobs to be done very effective in that stakeholder communication, and also for PMs to get in the right mindset that, oh, like, this is the end goal. This is what the customer is trying to do, and I need to remove friction. So that, I think, jobs to be done is one of my favorite frameworks. The other thing that keeps coming up is a prioritization framework. I have
Mm,
to say, I have not found a good one. There are a lot of adequate ones like RISE, like there's the ROI one, like that's just
yeah,
value, cost benefit. I
yeah,
mean, they all have the same basis. I feel like all of them are about 60% effective, right?
yeah,
Which is not
yeah.
bad, but I don't know if you have found one, or if any of your audience have found one. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good question because I think prioritization framework is mostly used in PM interviews, at least from my perspective.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like, okay, how do I tell the story? How do I prioritize? There's like
yeah,
project A versus project B. But in real life, it's more complicated, right? I
yeah,
think especially in payments world, maybe there's like a new compliance requirement, or like some, let's say competitors have something new, where there's like a new feature the customer being requesting, where customer being requesting, but maybe a free feature. Like I think
yeah.
real world is definitely a lot more complicated. There's
I
also,
mean, there's
yeah,
also I think it also sets this expectation that whatever is the number one, that as per as your prioritization model is what you would do. That's not really reality. If the team
yeah,
is working on something and is almost done, or is in the middle of doing something else which might be less valuable, but at the time it was prioritized, it was the most valuable thing, you're not going to leave it incomplete, right?
right,
Unless
right,
it's like
yeah,
really really good reason to. So I also feel like they set this unrealistic expectation, like, well, my item was number one as per the prioritization model, so why are you not doing it right now? As you
yeah.
said, there are a lot of practical implications that it ignores.
Yeah. There was a company I used to work at. So the prioritization spreadsheet, there are only two type of priority. Everything is either P00 or P0. It was so funny. The designers look at it. It's like, what is this? Like, you gotta have something that's P1, P2. You can't have
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
is P0. Like, when is it gonna be P000?
I have seen this. I have seen priority lists where they were like six things are number one. And
Yeah.
that's like, so yeah, I'm also a big fan of stack ranking. Like, no, no, you cannot have two number ones. Like, it
Yeah,
really has
yeah.
to be a stack rank, and it forces you to make some difficult decisions.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that's so true. I think, I mean, every day is a journey, right? Every
Yeah.
day you prioritize. Like maybe some framework, even among the same company, different teams, maybe they prioritize things a little differently.
Differently, yeah. And I do think this is a core skill that product managers at all level need to learn, right? Of course, your manager can make a prioritization decision, but as a product manager, this is a core skill. So, like,
Yeah.
just having a good sense of, okay, what's, like, being able to compare the impact, like having a little bit of a third sense of, can I actually say no, or will it get escalated? Do I need to do a little bit more due diligence about it before I say no? Right?
Yeah.
And coming to your leader, your manager with a recommendation, I think is the way at any level you can start building the skill set, prioritization,
Yeah.
and saying no tactfully.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Speaking of levels, so you are a senior director, right? And then you've been people manager for a while. So if you had to describe a typical day for you, you know, think about those like YouTube vlogs, like a day in life, right? A day in life for Parul's life as a senior director of product. What would that look like? If there was ever a typical day, right?
Okay, let's see. What would that look like? So, Indeed is based out of Austin, so I work Central Time, although
Mm.
I live in California. So my day starts at 7.
Oh wow, okay.
Um, I try to keep the first hour meeting free if I can, and I probably succeed twice a week, 2 days a week. I have 7 to 8 free,
Hmm.
and the reason I do that is because I'm a big believer of, like, having my list of priorities and making progress on those rather than
Yeah,
jumping into email and Slack right away.
yeah,
So
yeah,
usually, the night before, I would write down, like, by 7 o'clock, like, be at my desk, 7 to 7:15, review this deck. So, like, I would have a list of things to do. So that usually the first hour is that. If I don't
Mhm.
have a meeting, I have a list of like strategic things that need my attention and I focus on those. I spend anywhere between 4 to 6 hours in meetings every day. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
so usually there are different kind of meetings. We have some regularly scheduled meetings to review teams' KPIs
Mm.
or metrics of how we are doing. We have some status readout meetings. At the beginning of a quarter, we have the quarterly OKR review meetings. So there are
Yeah.
like these cadence meetings that they're there. um, the other kind of meetings that I attend are, meeting with stakeholders. If I have something that I need from them, or attending meetings where I am a stakeholder and I have to give input.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of meetings. One-on-ones take a lot of time. So one-on-ones as well as skip levels, cross-functional meetings. So
Mm.
that's my 4 to 6 hour block of meetings. And then the 2 hours that I have left, usually like the 2 to 3 hours that I actually have time to do work, which honestly
Mm.
I feel like is I am lucky to have that much time. I know many product managers and leaders that don't
Mm.
have that much time. That's where I catch up on some of the tactical stuff like Slacks.
Yeah.
I have tried ignoring Slack, and in the short terms it works out, but I feel like keeping on top of your Slack messages also gives you a sense of what's going to go wrong and you can kind of get ahead of it,
That's
what's
true.
escalating.
Yeah.
um, and then I kind of try to do some strategic thinking, like not every day, but like what is it that I'm trying to get done, what's
Mm.
getting in the way, and what is it that I need to do proactively, or ask my team to do, or ask a stakeholder to do, or maybe bring it up to my manager to get ahead of
Mm.
it. But that's usually how I try to spend the time that in the meeting free time that I have. I don't know, is
Yeah.
this the level of detail you were looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's perfect. So I think that makes sense because as a product leader, right, you will definitely spend a lot of time in stakeholder meetings, in sync, roadmap planning. And then, but it's also precious. You actually have,
Yeah,
a little bit of your own free time to
yeah,
execute, to do stuff,
yeah,
right? Not just back to back meetings. Because there were times that I had back to back meetings all day, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
7 or 8 hours straight of meetings. Like during lunch, you do a lunch meeting, and
yeah,
then at the end of the day, your head's kind of burnt. So you
yeah.
don't really have time to just take a break and think about, oh, anything could improve better, where you just fully in the execution mode, and then maybe at night I catch up on PRDs or comments on the. I don't think that's like a healthy way of working, but
It's not.
yeah,
I also realized at some point that being in back to back meetings is just not good for my mental health. Like it
yeah.
leaves me drained, it like makes me frustrated. So and also kind of I feel like a loss of control, right? Like as if my
Mm-mm.
calendar is controlling me rather than me controlling my calendar. So I do make a conscious effort that I have at least like ideally 2 to 3 hours, but at a minimum 1 hour of meeting free time
Yeah,
where I can focus on saying this was important to me, this is my weekly goal, I'm going to work on it.
yeah. No, that's absolutely amazing. I think that's a you're in a very balanced spot to be. That's amazing.
So I'll tell you the other thing I have realized, right? You would think so. One of the privileges of being at a senior director level is that honestly, I feel like directors and senior managers, their calendars are worse than mine because
Mm, mm.
usually they are in a more challenging spot because they are a leader as well as a doer, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
player
yeah,
coach role. So they are in a
yeah.
lot of the execution meetings and they're driving the strategy.
Right.
At senior director level, I get involved in something only if I see it's going. Either I know it's red, I need to do something to move it forward, or I kind of see it going red, right?
Mm,
So this
yeah.
I kind of get involved in the more exceptional use cases,
Right, right. Yeah.
which I do think. I mean, but then there's also more responsibility on me to kind of
Yeah.
think ahead and say, okay, what is it that we are going to go next year? Which relationships do we need to build? What's the narrative about this product or this team that we want to promote, right? So
Mhm.
yes, I have fewer meetings, but I also have like I feel a lot of pressure that I need to make good use of that time
Yeah,
for
that
my
that's
team.
a good point. You are at a level to see a bigger picture, kind of
Yeah,
almost like a representative for a few teams that you are in charge of.
yeah,
So you have to see, I don't know, 5,000 meters or
yeah,
miles ahead before something goes wrong, right? And then you basically will be responsible for your team's like big success or big
yeah.
failure. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I realized as you grow in your career becomes even more important, which I didn't know when I was early in my career, are one on ones.
Mm,
Because one on ones with your team, with your cross functional team, with your peers, it's an opportunity. In some cases, it's an opportunity to coach people, right?
hmm.
So, uh, obviously, the fewer escalations I need to get involved in, the more strategic work I can do, right?
Right,
So,
right.
how do I
Yeah.
coach my team so that they are able to handle more of these escalations on their own?
Mm,
So, this honestly was counterintuitive to me that the more time I spend in one on ones coaching my team,
mm,
the like everybody grows. They grow, I grow because I have more time to do the kind of work I want to do. More time spent influencing and educating my stakeholders means less time later on in like them rebelling or kind of not being aligned. So your
I
meeting
see.
time
Yeah.
actually becomes a big part, like one-on-one meeting time actually becomes a part of your strategy. It
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
becomes an important tool for you to grow and have more.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You could either get to know about a project in
Yeah,
like a big group meeting, or through one-on-one,
yeah,
you can know what are some hiccups and challenges.
yeah,
And then, as you said, it's kind of like an investment for your team, right?
yeah, yeah,
Maybe initially they might bother you like small things, and then you tell
yeah,
them, "Hey, here's a framework you apply. Here's the people you
yeah,
should talk to." And then later on, they are more comfortable, and then but you also know what's happening through the
yeah,
one-on-one setting. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Any tips for people who might want to transition to be an e-commerce driven PM or marketplace or billing or payments in that domains? Do you feel like is there any I wouldn't call it a shortcut, but what are things you think people should do if they have interests in the e-commerce marketplace or payments area?
So I would say developing some content. I think curiosity about this area, like
Curiosity,
being
yeah, yeah.
interested in that area, is important. I think maybe doing some research to see whether maybe a service marketplace interests you, or a
Mm,
B2B marketplace, or a B2C marketplace, so that you can be a little bit more targeted in your search. But that doesn't have to be. Maybe you want to explore all of them, right? Then you maybe
yeah.
learn a little bit more about each of them. I would say the hack that I have is become friends with somebody who's doing the role that you want. Right.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think if you are talking to somebody, when I was a marketplace PM at PayPal, because I was in that role and then I had access to all of this research, I
Hmm.
learned about the area really quickly.
Mm,
And if I had like tried to do it on my own, like it would have taken me much longer. So if
yeah.
you become friends with somebody, or if you grow your network to include people who have the job that you want, I think you can kind of catch on to it much quicker.
Yeah,
Like
that's
like
true.
what
That's
does
true.
the
Yeah.
job entail? What are the challenges? Like where do you see the conflict between, well, the business, what business wants versus the what customers want? So I think you will get to those common challenges very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. I think it's almost like okay, find the person you don't want to become, right? Or
Yeah,
like ask about their lives, right?
yeah,
Take interest and, as you said, curiosity
yeah,
to understand what they have been through to be in the position they're in right now.
yeah,
And maybe you want to be a marketplace PM. Maybe you feel like okay, that's like too many sides where like you want
yeah,
to focus
yeah,
in a different area.
yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Love that. One bonus question, since I work in the fashion industry, I actually got this from Stitch Fix.
Oh,
Um, so now I ask every guest this, which is, what's your favorite clothing brand?
my favorite clothing brand.
Like your go-to. It could be athleisure, it could be workwear, it could be anything, right? What is your favorite brand or fashion choice if you have to choose one?
Okay,
I
so my
actually learned
answer
a
is going
lot
to be
from like other male video podcast guests. Like, oh, they're talking about these brands I never heard of, but these are like simple fashion and stuff. Yeah.
so I used to have Stitch Fix. I used to have a Stitch Fix subscription, and I used to have a Trunk Club. Is it Trunk
Oh, the
Club?
Nordstrom front.
The
Yes, yes,
Nordstrom
yes.
one. I used to have both of them at the same time, and I do
Okay,
think Stitch Fix was a lot more catered to my style than Trunk Club. I haven't had it in a while because I just don't need that many clothes.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But the place that I probably shop the most is Talbot's, the store
Oh
Talbot.
yes. Okay. Okay. I like
And
your classic style. Yeah.
they have, and one of the reasons is just sizing. They have the petite size. And
Mm.
because I am 5 feet, it just, it saves me a lot of money in getting my clothes altered. And
Okay.
I like their style, and their quality
Yeah.
is mostly okay. The other brand that I really like is Madewell. Uh,
Madewell's good. Yes.
yeah, especially their accessories. I feel like all of my like jewelry and bags are now from Madewell. I really like their style of accessories.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for recommendation. Yeah, I agree. These two are really good brands. I think Madewell is more like casual,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then Tabalt is more like work focused, more classy. Yeah, so
They have both. They have a
yeah, both. Okay.
range. They have both. But that's absolutely the reputation or the brand that they have is like more for like targeted for the, for like middle-aged women. More on the like I mean, if you think of brands like Everlane
Right,
or
right, yeah.
Madewell, they are definitely more casual. I think they carry
Yeah.
a range, but I
Yeah.
think they mostly market as them as a more professional clothing.
Yeah. I love that. I think you talked about kind of like the inclusiveness of
Yeah,
kind of the sizing, right? And then also, how it caters to the needs, right? The
yeah,
status of your life. I remember when I turned 30, I was saying, oh, I'm going to have an overhaul of, my closet and I'm going to throw away whatever I was wearing in college. That did not happen
that
overnight.
is
I
not.
think like every 6 months, I say, okay, I'm going through my closet to see, hey, what are things I haven't touched for at least 5, 6 months. If I haven't done that, probably I'm never going to touch them,
That
and then
really.
I will donate. And then that's how. Uh, I mean, I'm a customer of Stitch Fix. So I get a new box every other month.
Oh my god.
It's also helpful that we have 40% employee discount, which is a really sweet deal. So, but I agree. I think normally, like I might not shop this often. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember the feeling of getting a Stitch Fix or a Trunk Club was amazing.
Yeah.
And when I was a customer,
Yeah.
Stitch Fix would not do a preview of what you were getting. So it was
Oh,
a
that's so
complete
surprise.
surprise.
Yes. Yes.
And I used to take pictures of like try everything, take pictures and send it to my friends. And they used to like vote on what I should keep versus not keep.
I
It
love
was
that.
definitely an experience. I mean, it just, I don't need that many clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I discontinued it. But it was really
That's true. I mean, I do love that feeling. Every other
fun.
month, I have
Yeah,
something waiting for me. It's for me,
exactly.
right? I mean, because as a mom, you shop for everybody, right?
Yeah,
You shop for gifts, like birthday parties, but like, who's shopping for you, right?
yeah,
It's nice that I have like a stylist to say, hey, here's what I need, for the upcoming month, and here's my press preferences. But yeah, I agree. I think I love the recommendations you have. Thank you so much.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
All right. These are all the questions I have. Thank you for being here, Parul.
Thank you, Yang. It was a fun conversation.